Good morning to all of you. Let me start the talk by thanking Dr. Manoj Pateria and his colleagues for inviting me here to be part of this meeting, and also to Mahesh and Charu for making the necessary arrangements. I'm going to talk about providing information resources and knowledge networking, and what is the challenge in the digital era. That is which I'll be concentrating. Some of you who would be following Peter Drucker, he said the basic economic resource in the 21st century is going to be not the production, not the resources, not the capital, not even human resources. It is going to be the knowledge, and that effect which we already started seeing, how it is changing our life. Now, we all have data, which either structured or unstructured or semi-structured. And with some understanding relations between the data, it becomes information. And then understanding patterns among the information leads to knowledge. But then a newer dimension to information is coming. Now we need to talk about understanding principles and act. Now you all realize that so much of information, so much of knowledge that is being available, but we still seem to be having a lot of problems in the society where we live. And that is because I think we need to understand the principles and act, and that's where the wisdom comes into the picture, and this is where the newer dimension to the knowledge networking would happen now. Now, when you talk about knowledge networking, it is essentially sharing with each other. You know, I know something, I'm sharing with you, and learning from each other. I think we always learn from each other when we listen to somebody or read something, it will be there. And leading to working together in a very efficient way, and that is where the networking would come into the picture. Obviously, it has to be reciprocal, and there should be an emotional support as well as practical. That is where the networking would play a role. It's not simply providing data or information or whatever it is, the emotional support. And in a way of coaching, I would call, I think learning is to coach ourselves. There's a two-way learning and two-way coaching. And means of ensuring that everyone gets the information they need. And this is the challenge for information scientists. Are we providing information that is needed? That's where the challenge is there. And also connecting to new ideas, yourself, yours, and with others. I think this is where the networking, knowledge networking would happen there. So this is where information management comes into the picture. And it's a mixture of people, processes, tools, and technology, mix them in a way that it leads to the purpose for a given purpose, and that is where the challenge is there. And now we are living in a rapidly proliferating knowledge by social network. I think, I'm sure that what is happening here now may be already there on the net somewhere. Somebody enthusiastic puts on a Twitter or whatever it is. That is so much of social networking that is coming out of it, which is absorbing, creating, transforming, and communicating knowledge. That is where, and then it's a dense web of social, economic, and contractual and administrative relationships. And this is the challenge in which we are living now. Now, the recent developments, the digital chain, I'm calling digital chain either be digitization or networking, and is resulting in entirely new ways of creating, distributing, storing, and using knowledge, and be it digital libraries or digital publishing. And this is where newer things that are becoming available. And this information chain is leading to the distribution of knowledge content from authors to users, and for the exchange of knowledge within the organizations. I think this is where it is leading to. And that is where I would say information science is an area of research which provide answers to the many questions and problems arising from these developments. And that's where the responsibility of the researchers in the domain of information science. And we are in transition. And what is the transition? One, the information is getting transformed. What used to be print, now it has become electronic. And then the scholarly literature, the way it is growing exponentially. I think morning it was told how much of information that is being made available, and new facets which are getting added. which leads to means and ways by which information is communicated, transmitted, accessed, and used. The one more transition is the users. This is the millennial generation. Before even you go to the class, you know about it because there is Google there available for you. That is, you always like to get information much before somebody formally provide to you. Obviously, the younger generations are web savvy. And then, most important thing is that the younger generation tend to become impatient. This is where the transition, both transition in the information, transition in the information seekers, and these transition we need to keep in mind when we want to provide solutions to knowledge networking. So what are the problems? Because of this background, the problems of information society is lot of information is available. Now, if you want to know about somebody or some organization, you don't have to worry about it. You simply have to go to the net and find out. But the problem is how relevant it is, how clear it is, and how accurate it is. And that is the challenge which we are going to have when you have a lot of information that is available. And then, because a lot of information is available, users are overloaded with large amount of information, and it's almost impossible to absorb. Just do a Google search and find out how much time it will take for you to understand what that is already available. Maybe 30 years back or 25 years back, you would refer to a paper and then read that paper and then equip yourself with. But now so much of information is there, and hence the challenge to absorb it will be there. And you want to search. You search today and search tomorrow, you realize that you would get different information. So it is going to be time consuming, and you always struggle to get relevant results, and this is the challenge. So to encounter this or to find solutions in this jungle of information is to find intelligent solutions, able to support users in finding relevant information. I think this is where I think the challenge is for us. I always fond of showing this picture. This has got different interpretation because it is like a blind man looking at an elephant, and which aspect of it you look at it, that's what the elephant may look like for you. And this is the giant of information that is becoming available to us can lead to this misunderstanding to us, because you may only study or search for that part of information, and that can lead to a lack of not having a proper understanding of the subject which you're searching for it. So traditionally, the library information services library is the place where you go to find information. So you need to procurement, processing, circulation, maintenance, classification, cataloging. I know I'm sure some students who are sitting here in the library science would realize that these are all things are taught there. But then what is the transition that has happened now? We used to get print books where you go subject them to all these processes, but now you get e-books. So then most of the things that are required to be done with the print books are gone. I think you don't need to do them anymore now. And what journals used to study or used to subscribe, they used to come in the print mode, and then now they go into online mode. I mean, just imagine the transition that is happening. So the importance would be, how do you manage your digital resources and technology in an environment of information science providers? One, you make the content available. Then you need the conversion to digital if it is available in the print form. And the content creation, and how the digital content you can summarize and make it available to the people. So provide the ability to aggregate computing resources in servers instead of on the individual clients. Earlier you should be in a place where, in a common place where you can access it. So essentially, the challenge is to centralize, consolidate, and virtualize it so that you can access it from anywhere. So this is the transition which is happening there. And what are the challenges? One is the ease of access, because with one user ID across the platforms, I mean, you cannot remember, how difficult it is to remember your passwords. You would realize it will be there. When different platforms are available, can I access it by using single ID? And so that improved user satisfaction, because there's so much of information is there. So developing single sign-in for users, sign-on for users. I'm sure that many of the library information resource centers are already doing it. and representing, storing, and retrieving information. I mean, how do you do this part of it? Particularly if originally the information is in the print form. You know that every library, when you go there, you'd always find large volumes of books or journals. And then you have the online content is available. But what would you do with the ones which is already there in the print form? And how do I make it digitally accessible? And that is a challenge which we have to do that. And operationally managing large collections. You know, this is a huge amount of information, quantity is increasing. The issue of scale is a problem. Other thing is the unstructured data. I think because each one is generated or originated in a particular way, and it will be in a different structure. So need to retrieve information from different databases, and hence you need to develop a federated gateway where, independent of the way the data is structured, you should be able to access it or even search it is what is the challenge now. But more importantly for me, there are several newer issues which are coming out. One is the plagiarism, which all of us are struggling now, and monitoring. And copyright issues has become a big issue. I think earlier it was difficult to violate these copyrights, but now it's a lot easier because it's available in the digital content form. And hence, the surveillance is important, how the information is being used, and that is where the challenge is what is coming with the information. Now, so one of the ways which we can do to help the readers or the users is, the earlier speaker was mentioning about the platforms that have been created. And then now we can see is that, can I have subject-specific gateways? That means, from all the information that is available, can I segregate them subject-wise or the topic-wise and put it in a place so that the user would at least help him that, go to this place, to go to this particular thing. So this subject-specific gateways is a newer way to help the people to reach to the information that is already available. But then it is not one-time effort, it should be a continuous effort. There should be web crawlers to update the content using keywords, and also provide the full text wherever you have subscribed to it. I think this is where I think you need to have another challenge will be there. So I would say that we are looking forward to the information scientists or information providers to become reference managers, and a way of providing support and guidance to the researchers. You can specialize in databases, be it Scopus, Web of Science, Google Scholar, specialize so that a young researcher you would be able to interface with the databases that are already available, or specialize in abstracting services like SciFinder, which you remember the younger days, I remember as a student that the large volumes of chemical abstracts will be there, which I have to go through them. Today, by a press of button, it is there. But then, to use it effectively, you need an interface, and that's where the information scientists should be able to step in and provide the support. So I would say, doing for online information resources what librarians used to do for print earlier time. You remember when you go to a library, you always ask him, I want this book. He or she would direct you to go there because that knowledge is there with them. But now, you're not going there. You're not searching for the print volume. So can I help just show the path in the digital space that, yes, this is where you can go to get your information, save the time of the user by doing this transition. I just picked up there is a paper in Nature, very interesting. A few years back, this paper appeared to see that how the newer facets are becoming available, be it ResearchGate or Academia, Mandeleave. And you can see that almost all the researchers are accessing this for different purposes. I don't want to go into the details of this study. It is only to point out, to tell you that these are the new facets that are becoming available, which you should be aware of it will be there. They also did like Twitter or LinkedIn or Facebook, and they found out and see how often researchers are accessing it and what for they're accessing it. And mind you, these are all done without information scientists or the librarians. You are doing it on your computer and then accessing it. So you have to be conscious about the change that is happening and be there with the users so that we don't become irrelevant when others are searching for information, what they want by themselves, and what is that we would provide is what is the challenge. And it's very interesting, there's a subtle changes between the domain of research which you do and the way you access about it. If you take to science and engineering, you can see, be it Google Scholar, ResearchGate, LinkedIn, all are listed here, and which are going to tell you what you do with it. It will be there. There seems to be a subtle difference between the humanities people or in the science and technology regarding what you prefer to access. It will be there. The summary of this showing these things is to say, just see the world of information access changing, and that is where we have to be relevant by being there with them. So now, what are the challenges? The workforce challenges is what I call. One is access to information is what we want to provide in the digital era. Continuously, technology advances are happening, and advances in IT is happening. One is the technology way which the information can be provided or the way it can be accessed is changing. And hence, this puts challenge to information scientists continuously, because you need to be keeping track of the developments that are happening either in the technology or in IT, and hence that has to be integrated into your profession. It will be there. And the bigger challenge is that you have to continuously work in the hybrid environment. It is not possible that my library would have only computers and online access, because there are books, there are journals, there are very precious materials which have been accumulated or acquired over a period of time. They continue to be there in the libraries, at least for a longer time to come. Maybe at least for a few more decades you would have this hybrid environment. And you need to work in this hybrid environment. And a new model for facilitating acquisition. That is, now that we have a newer facets, can we look at the way we can acquire? So I would say librarians or information scientists have to turn as technocrats in this Google generation. This is where I think you need to make this transition. And of course, we need to provide platforms for HRD in the area of information sciences. I'm sure the organization like NISCARE is doing very good job of doing this human research development. More and more such efforts are required if you want to prepare the information scientists to cope the challenges that are being put here. Well, in the center of the thing is the library. It's an organized collection of information which used to be there. And now we said digital library. It's online. Easy searching with the full text index is what we started. But you see that there are some problems even in the online search. Then we said semantic. Can we add meaning to our search? We said the digital libraries would become semantic digital libraries. So accessible by machines, not only with machines and by machines. So this is where the semantic digital library would come. And now I'm calling it a social semantic library. It involves the community into sharing knowledge. And that's where, after all, the information is not a standalone thing. It is connected with the people who are providing the information or accessing or seeking the information. And this social, including the community, involve the community to sharing the knowledge, provide that information that is required for the betterment of the communities. And that's where the transition would happen. Well, now the transition I summarized here from print to digital media, and see the younger generation which are there here. I think they are very web savvy. They're looking at such young age, they started using the technological gadgets. And this transformation has necessitated the workforce to reorient, retrain, and gain new skills if you want to be relevant in the digital era. And I'll stop here, and I thank you for your attention.
Thank you for an excellent deliberations on this